Everyone, welcome back. Target just put out their Q3 earnings,
Yeah,
and we're going to break down what it all means for you.
absolutely.
So we are diving into their official Form 8K filing and the press release, basically the official announcements about their financial results for the 3 months ending November 2nd, 2024. We're going to cut through all that jargon and get to the interesting stuff.
Yeah, these reports, they can seem pretty
Oh,
dense,
yeah,
but they actually offer like a fascinating glimpse into how Target is performing, but also kind of broader consumer trends.
totally. So first up, sales performance. Target's reporting that comparable sales are up just a tiny bit, 0.3%. Now, comparable sales, or comps, are a way of measuring how a company's doing compared to the same time last year. It helps smooth out any bumps from things like new store openings. But here's the thing. That tiny overall increase is masking a pretty big shift in how people are shopping.
Yeah, what's fascinating here is that while overall sales are up slightly, in-store sales actually dipped almost 2%. But digital sales, those online orders jumped almost 11%. So you've got this interesting dynamic where the growth is happening online,
Mm.
even as in-store sales are taking a hit.
Okay, but wouldn't that mean foot traffic is down too? I mean, if fewer people are shopping in stores, wouldn't there be fewer people actually walking through the doors?
You would think so, but you'd be wrong. Foot traffic actually increased by 2.4%. That means more people are going to Target stores,
Wow.
even if they aren't necessarily buying everything there.
So what's driving that increase in foot traffic if people aren't always buying in the store?
Well, the report points to the popularity of Target's same-day services like Drive Up and Target Circle 360 delivery.
Hmm.
Those options offer like a lot of convenience.
Right. So even though the in-store sales were down, the fact that foot traffic is up is a pretty good sign for Target.
You're right.
It shows that their stores are still drawing people in,
Yeah,
even if those people are just swinging by for a quick pickup.
exactly. They've managed to make their stores a destination, not just a place to buy things.
Okay, let's move on to something else that caught my eye, the beauty category. This segment saw a comparable sales increase of over 6%. What do you make of that?
I think it's interesting because typically beauty is considered a somewhat resilient category. Even when people are tightening their belts in other areas,
Right.
they often continue to buy beauty products. It kind of speaks to the importance of self-care,
Hmm.
even during tough economic times.
That makes sense.
Well,
Like, even if you're cutting back on big purchases, you can still treat yourself to a new lipstick or face mask. Those little indulgences can really make a difference. But what's going on with Target's profits in all of this?
Well, that's where things get a little more complicated. While sales are up slightly, the report shows earnings per share, or EPS, are down almost 12% compared to last year. EPS is essentially a measure of the company's profit divided by the number of outstanding shares of stock. It gives you a sense of how much profit each share of stock is earning.
So if EPS is down, even though sales are up, what does that tell us? It seems like something isn't adding up.
You're right, it does seem counterintuitive, but the report helps explain this discrepancy. They cite higher fulfillment costs,
Hmm.
which is understandable with so many online orders. And it's not just like the cost of shipping. Think about all the infrastructure needed to support online orders, warehouses, technology staff. It all adds up.
Right. It's like a whole hidden world behind that add to cart button.
Exactly. Then you've got like the ongoing supply chain challenges that are impacting businesses across the board.
Oh, for sure.
Delays, increased transportation costs, it all eats into those profit margins.
And on top of that, Target has been investing in their employees, increasing wages and benefits.
Which is commendable, especially in this economic climate. But it does contribute to the pressure on profits in the short term.
Okay, so we got this picture of Target navigating a pretty complex landscape. Sales are up a bit, but there are these underlying challenges cutting into profits. What does this all mean for their future, especially with the holidays right around the corner?
Well, their forecast for Q4, which includes the holiday shopping season, is for flat comparable sales.
Okay.
So they're not expecting like a big surge in sales, which makes sense given all the economic uncertainty. But they still project full year earnings per share to be between $8.30 and $8.90.
That seems like a pretty cautious outlook, especially for the holidays. What do you think is driving that cautious approach?
Well, think about it from the consumer's perspective.
Right.
Prices are up on everything from groceries to gas, and that has a lot of people feeling uneasy about spending, especially on discretionary items.
You're right. If your budget is tighter, you're probably going to be more selective about where you spend your money, even during the holidays. But back to Target's strategy. Is this flat sales forecast just them being realistic, or are there other factors at play?
I think it's a combination of things. They're being realistic about the current economic climate, but they're also probably being strategic. Remember, they're investing in their employees, improving their digital infrastructure, and trying to make their stores even more appealing. These are all moves that might not have a huge immediate impact on sales, but are laying the groundwork for long-term growth.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like they're playing the long game,
Yeah.
focusing on building a strong foundation, even if it means sacrificing some short-term profits.
Exactly. And it's a smart move because the retail landscape is evolving so rapidly. It's not just about having the lowest prices anymore. It's about offering a seamless, convenient, and personalized shopping experience.
Okay, but let's bring it back to us, the shoppers. How is all this going to impact what we see in stores and online, especially as we get closer to the holidays?
Well, for one thing, you can expect to see retailers, including Target, double down on convenience. Think curbside pickup, same-day delivery, more flexible return options. They're going to be competing for your attention and your dollars. So expect to see them pulling out all the stops to make shopping as easy and enjoyable as possible.
And what about deals? With that flat sales forecast, do you think we're going to see deeper discounts or more aggressive promotions, especially as we get closer to Black Friday and Cyber Monday?
It's definitely possible. If retailers are anticipating slower sales growth, they're going to have to be more creative about attracting customers. That could mean bigger discounts, earlier promotions, or even bundling products together to offer more value.
So it might actually be a good year for bargain hunters.
Potentially. But it's also going to be important to be a savvy shopper. Do your research, compare prices, and don't get swept up in the hype.
All great advice.
Yeah.
But beyond the deals, what other trends should we be paying attention to as we navigate the holiday shopping season?
Well, one thing that's interesting is the continued growth in certain categories, like beauty, as we discussed earlier. This suggests that even when people are being careful about spending, they're still willing to splurge on those little things that bring them joy or make them feel good.
So it's not just about practicality, it's about those little mood boosts,
Right.
those small indulgences that can brighten your day. And what about gift giving? What do you think will be the hot items this year?
It's always hard to predict with certainty, but I think we'll continue to see strong demand for electronics, especially gadgets and tech accessories. Experiences are also becoming increasingly popular as gifts, things like concert tickets, cooking classes, or memberships to streaming services.
Makes sense. People are craving connection and new experiences after the past few years. But whether it's tech gadgets or a chance to try something new, it seems like finding the perfect gift is going to require some careful thought and consideration.
Absolutely. It's not just about buying something for the sake of buying. It's about finding something meaningful, something that the recipient will truly appreciate and enjoy.
Well said. And I think that philosophy applies to our own shopping as well. It's about being mindful of our spending, making choices that align with our values, and finding those things that spark joy and enhance our lives.
I completely agree. It's about being intentional with our purchases, whether we're buying gifts for others or treating ourselves.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about Target's performance,
Yeah.
the economic climate, consumer trends, and even holiday predictions. But there's one thing that keeps coming back to me.
What's that?
It's this idea that Target's story is a reflection of the larger retail industry. They're facing the same challenges, adapting to the same trends, and trying to appeal to the same consumers.
That's a great point. And it makes me think about the implications for other businesses, not just in retail. This need to be agile to anticipate shifts in consumer behavior. It's universal.
Right, like imagine you're a restaurant owner. Maybe you were doing just fine with dine-in service before. Now you've got to figure out online ordering, delivery apps, maybe even meal kits to stay competitive. It's the same pressures, just a different industry.
Exactly. And it highlights the importance of data. Target isn't just guessing what customers want. They're analyzing every click, every purchase, every interaction to understand those preferences and tailor their offerings.
Okay, so data is king, but it's not just about collecting it right. It's about knowing how to use it, how to turn those insights into actionable strategies.
Absolutely. It's like having all the ingredients for a delicious cake, but no recipe. You need the right tools and expertise to make sense of the data and turn it into something valuable.
This is where it gets really interesting for me, because it's not just about the businesses anymore. As consumers, we're generating all this data.
Yeah.
Every time we shop, browse, or interact with a brand, we're leaving a digital footprint.
That's a powerful thought, and it raises some important questions about privacy, transparency, and control. How is our data being used? Who has access to it? And what can we do to protect our digital selves?
Okay, so we've talked about how Target's using data to understand its customers and tailor its offerings.
Yeah.
But what does that really mean for us as shoppers? Is this whole data-driven thing a good thing or a bad thing?
That's a great question. And it's one that, like, a lot of people are grappling with. There's no easy answer. On the one hand, when it's done ethically and transparently, using data can lead to a more personalized and convenient shopping experience. Think about those recommendations you get online. Sometimes they're spot on, right?
Yeah, it's kind of freaky sometimes how well those algorithms seem to know me. But it is helpful, like when they suggest something I actually need or introduce me to a brand I end up loving.
Exactly. And think about like the convenience factor. Having your payment information saved, getting personalized discounts, or seeing items that are in stock at your local store, those are all made possible by data.
Okay, so there are definitely upsides. But what about the downsides? You mentioned privacy and transparency earlier. What are some of the things we should be aware of as consumers?
Well, for starters, it's important to understand like what data is being collected and how it's being used. Read those privacy policies even if they are super long and boring. Look for companies that are transparent about their data practices and give you control over your information.
That makes sense. They're like, I'm
Mhm.
willing to share some information if it means getting a better shopping experience, but I also want to know that my data is being treated responsibly.
Exactly. And remember, you always have the right to opt out of certain data collection practices. It might mean missing out on some personalized features, but it's a trade-off you have to weigh for yourself.
Okay, so it seems like navigating this data-driven world is all about finding that balance between convenience and control, between personalization and privacy.
Exactly. And it's an evolving landscape. New technologies and data collection practices are emerging all the time. As consumers, it's up to us to stay informed, make conscious choices, and demand that companies treat our data responsibly.
Well said. So we've gone deep on Target's Q3 earnings, uncovering not just the financial results, but also the bigger trends and implications for the retail industry and for us as shoppers.
It's been a fascinating dive. We've seen how Target is adapting to like a rapidly changing world, embracing both the challenges and the opportunities that come with it.
We've talked about this shift to online shopping, the importance of convenience, the resilience of certain categories like beauty, and the pressure on profits. And we've explored the complex relationship between data personalization and privacy in the modern retail landscape.
It's a lot to digest, but hopefully this deep dive is giving you some valuable insights and food for thought.
Absolutely. As always, we encourage you to keep exploring, to stay curious, and to think critically about the choices you make as a consumer.
And to remember that the retail world is constantly evolving. What's true today might not be true tomorrow.
So until next time, keep those shopping carts ready, stay informed, and thanks for diving deep with us.